there's a lot of different things that come out. And so it's being cognizant of that. And so when I tell you don't fear the pivot, I'm speaking from experience because I'm constantly riddled with anxiety about stuff. And
Right.
understanding that sometimes that pivot is a matter of life and death, but you don't know that it's a matter of life and death yet. You don't know that you're on the path to your own ruin if you do not change the way that you are proceeding ahead in a business venture or in your personal life. Because you're used to feeling the way you're feeling all the time. You don't realize what you're actually feeling and experience, or what you're actually feeling and experiencing is bad for you, or $100 world is deleterious for you. It's not benefiting you. But since you are so used to your own experience, you are comfortable being in a bad state as opposed to feeling okay. And so
Right.
that's why a lot of business owners stick with pricing models that don't serve them, or they sell products that nobody really wants. Blockbuster, you mentioned Blockbuster. Blockbuster could have looked at their bottom line and saying, we are losing market share to these people every single day. But instead of realizing the level of trouble they were actually in, they're like, well, we're fine now. And they didn't make the pivot, and it cost them everything. And so a lot of
Well, I
times,
mean, to a point, not to interrupt you, but to a point, because if again, like I said, man, their story is layered in so much though. But they did double down. They just didn't double down with Netflix. They doubled down with Circuit City,
yeah,
which went out of business right after that too. So I mean, so they just had a whole slew of bad decisions, especially bad financial decisions. Go ahead, though. I want to hear the rest of that. Sorry.
but it goes into the fact that they were leaning into something that felt familiar as opposed to stepping into the unfamiliar and
Mm.
adjusting for what the unfamiliar might bring. Sometimes it
Right.
is better. It is better when what you're doing isn't creating the outcomes that you want. That familiarity isn't always a great thing, because
Mm-mm.
it's a familiarity with something that's negative or something that's dragging you down, as opposed to the concept, the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know, right? But it's still a devil. You still dealing with the devil. Why not?
Mm.
What if the pivot means that you don't have to deal with the devil no more? Then you can go do some other stuff that's going to benefit you. And so I see Blockbuster's folly is, oh, we're leaning into the Circuit City thing. We're going to partner with them. They were going out. They were on their way out too, because their business model was broken. And so a lot of times we end up fearing the unknown. And I mentioned it last week. A lot of times opportunities look like risks depending
Mm.
on where you're standing. So if you're standing after you've taken the risk, it looks like an opportunity that you took. But if you're in front of it and you haven't taken the risk yet, or you haven't taken the opportunity yet, it looks like a risk. Does that make sense? And I see it with a lot of people that, they may be part-time business owners. They may be, hedging their bets on a bunch of side hustles and stuff, and they never find the one thing and lean into it to make money with it. And so they're constantly hedging and opening up side hustle, side hustle, side hustle, side hustle, side hustle. And it's not dabbling to learn how things work. It's, well, I'm gonna get this thing, scramble up some quick money, and then they never put 100% of any one thing. So I'm gonna start a
Mm.
restaurant. I'm gonna teach people how to fix their credit, and I'm gonna get into real estate, and I'm gonna do 5 different desperate things, and any one of them can end up to millions of dollars if you focus on any one of them. But they got
Yeah.
12 of them, and none of them get up to 20,000. And so
What do
it's
you
the
mean 20,000? Man,
20,000,
most of
yeah.
them don't get. Most of them don't get up to 2,000.
And that's what I'm saying.
You know what I'm
So,
saying? Like, yeah, because you so diversified. Diversity ain't always a good thing.
and that's what we're talking right now. My money maker is the thing that makes us money is the athletic training business. I'm using my
Mhm.
knowledge of building that up to teach people how to do other things. This is something Fearless and I are building. Fearless and I already have our main stuff that
Mhm.
we're doing. We are learning how to do other things and trying to show other people how we did what we did.
Mhm.
That's the reality, and that's the difference. Because, and I said this last time, I gotta say this. The difference between what me and Fearless are doing versus what Mr. YouTuber that you saw, Mr. 22-year-old YouTuber that you saw telling you how to do a business is we actually have skin in the game and experience doing this stuff. Mr. 22-year-old I just got out of high school, he may be a millionaire, but he may be a millionaire just selling you business models that he's never done before.
Mhm.
That's what his business model is. His business model is selling you business models that you don't know. Our business model is, how do we level up what you're doing in your business or your brand or your personal life so that you can build a life that you want? And it comes from our actual real work experience. And so when we're sitting here telling you pivot, and a pivot is important, and when to pivot and when to consider a pivot, that's not something that we looked up on the internet. That's something that we
Mhm.
experienced. That's
Mhm.
something that we experience. And sometimes you pivot into a worse situation. Guess what? That's the trial and error piece of it. So now I pivoted into this bad situation. How do I make this bad situation optimal? Okay, I pivot into something that's adjacent to this, but I don't abandon it.
Mhm.
So that's what I'm talking about. And a lot of times I think on this online space, specifically when we're talking about consulting and teaching people stuff. There are so many people who are out here just selling you stuff that they ain't never done before. And so a lot of times for y'all that are out here watching, a lot of times when you are looking at somebody's reputation and looking at what they've actually created and what they've actually done and looking at their experience, sometimes if it don't line up, it don't line up. If this little 19-year-old is telling you how to build a business and you're like, all right, well, what business have you built? Well, I built a business showing people how to build their business. Okay, so what have you done though? Well, how does that work for you? Are you going to tell me how you built your business telling people how to build a business? Well, I'm not going to tell you my stuff. I'm going to tell you stuff that ChatGPT showed. I don't
Mhm.
have really experience. A lot of times that's how you value it. I paid, shoot, what was it? When I didn't have it, I paid almost $5,000 for a course to teach me how to write Google and YouTube ads. And that paid for itself within a year. It's $5,000 I didn't have. But the experience that it gave me was I need to pivot and actually learn how to write this stuff.
Mhm.
Because I was trying to do it without any coursework or anything, without any framework. And I was just going in there and trial and error in it. And trial and error showed me that I needed more help. And I had to pay for
Mhm.
that. So I paid $5,000 for it. And it hurt. But it changed the way that I could do business and gave me a new skill set that I could use, that I can charge people for. And it absolutely saved me being able to do that early on.
Right.
So, and the only reason I paid for it was because the person I bought it from actually showed that they had skin in the game and they knew what they were talking about. So,
And I think that's the best. That's the best stuff too. Is when a person has skin in the game. Like they've been there, done that. So this is not a cookie cutter, one stop shop type of thing or whatever. It's more of a